So next topic is peer review of valuations. This is especially for IBBI registered values. So in today's scenario or landscape of valuation practices in India, peer review has emerged as a critical mechanism for ensuring quality, consistency, and professional excellence. This comprehensive guide will examine the latest IBBI circulars, enforcement actions, and essential precautionary measures that registered values must adopt to maintain professional integrity and avoid regulatory sanctions. You know, as far as IBBI framework is concerned, it has put forth the regulatory foundation in Indian valuation scenario. So the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, it has established comprehensive regulatory oversight for valuation professionals. The IBBI registered valuation regulations 2017. It forms a comprehensive cornerstone for professional conduct and quality standards. So this regulatory framework encompasses, it gives you what are the registration requirements, what are the continuous professional educational requirements, what are the ethical standards, and what are the disciplinary mechanism regarding the valuation. So the structured approach ensured that valuation services meet international standards while addressing India's unique economic and legal environment. So understanding the framework of is essential for every registered valuer as it provides the context within which peer reviews operate and defines the boundaries of acceptable practice, professional practice. You know, in 2017, it was in 2017 when the initial regulations were put forth by IBBI. IBBI established basic valuation standards and the registration requirement for values across different asset classes. In 2017, in 2019, quality review process was introduced. So it was first formal peer review mechanism which was introduced to ensure consistency and quality in valuation practices. And this process was strengthened in 2021, where it was strengthening of the process with specific focus on methodology, compliance, and professional standards. And 2023, a comprehensive peer review system with regular audits, quality assessments, and corrective measurements was put forth. Current IBB circulars on peer review. So for recent circulars, you can contact RVO websites or IBBI website. They have significantly enhanced peer review process, introducing systematic quality checks and standardized evaluation criteria. IBBI circulars established mandatory peer review requirement for all registered values, handling assignment exceeding specified threshold. The circular mandates that valuation above certain limit must undergo peer review by another registered value within the same asset class. These this requirement extends to all critical valuations in insolvency proceedings, mergers and acquisitions, and of course regulatory compliance scenario. The reviewing valuer must possess equivalent or superior qualification and experience than the valuer of which he is doing peer review of peer review of the valuation. So the system introduced annual quality assessment of reports that registered values must submit detailing their peer review activities, methodological updates, and continuing educational compliance. These reports form the basis for IBBI's ongoing supervision and quality assurance program. So how this peer review process is carried out? First step is assignment identification. So determine if the valuation meets peer review threshold based on value, complexity, and regulatory requirement. Then RView will do this review selection. We will select some reviewers who will review the selected valuation reports. So identified qualified peer reviewers with appropriate credentials and no conflict of interest. So next is a documentation review. So comprehensive examination of valuation methodology, assumptions, and supporting evidence will be carried out by the reviewer. And also the quality of the work done will also be assessed by the reviewers regarding the compliance with IBBI standards, professional guidelines, and best practices. And based upon all these things, the reviewer will prepare a detailed peer review report with findings, recommendations, and compliance certification. So these are the thresholds represents minimum values requiring mandatory peer review. However, IBBI incurs voluntary peer review for all significant valuations to maintain professional standards and reduce liability exposures. Recent actions by the IBBI. So as we have already discussed these things during our first presentation in the morning, certain actions has been taken by the IBBI in peer review cases also. So IBBI have taken decisive actions against listed valuers for professional misconduct, faulty valuations, and non-compliance with the regulatory standards. So recent enforcement actions highlight common pitfalls and provide valuable lessons for the valuation community. IBBI suspended the registration of certain valuers for various infractions, including inadequate documentation, failure to follow prescribed methodologies, and conflict of interest. The most significant case involved a valuer who provided conflicting valuation for the same asset within a short time frame without adequate justification. See, the valuer has provided conflicting valuation for the same asset within a short time frame. Now, here who is to blame? So it is a valuer. That is why you should have quality control procedures at your level. The things we have already discussed in morning session. The same thing is here. During peer review, what will be checked? Your methodology, whether it is where any violation is there in methodology selection or justification of methodology, whether there are certain documentation deficiencies or whether there are certain professional misconduct. The same things here it is in peer review is that you might not have done something wrong, but it is just review of your work you have done. So in the morning we were studying where some problem has arisen due to your valuation. In peer review, it is not that some problem has arisen. It is just review of your valuation and to apprise you about the things you should avoid in future. So this is the basic difference here. Otherwise, the similar things are there in both the cases. So registered valuers face severe sanctions for providing a going concern valuation of X crores for a corporate complex where peer review revealed that actual value should not exceed 5 crores. So the actual amounts have been hidden. So a peer review was done and it was found that the valuer has given a going concern value of X crore, whereas the value should not be more than Y. The valuer had failed to account for the market deteriorations and used outdated comparable transactions. So the valuer's failure to update market assumptions and conduct adequate peer consultation resulted in Z% overvaluation, significantly prejudicing creditors' interest. So what are the consequences that may be faced? Registration may be suspended in such cases and may be considerable penalty and mandatory professional development program. Then there was certain cases where financial impact was there. Financial penalties may be levied by IBBI for valuation conduct, misconduct for an X amount. This is the total number of disciplinary actions which have been hidden, but in as Sandeepji have already shown you the case studies wherein n number of disciplinary actions, suspension or average suspension period is ranges from months to years, as we have already discussed in the morning. So you, as a registered valuer, you should understand your professional liability. So professional liability extends beyond regulatory sanctions and encompass civil and criminal liability. We have discussed it in the morning. Registered valuers face potential claims from creditors, resolution professionals, and other stakeholders who rely on their valuation for critical business decisions. So these codes, IBC code and the Companies Act 2013, they create statutory liability for valuers whose negligent or fraudulent conduct causes financial losses. And not only the IBBI, recent court cases are court judgments. They have also established that valuers owe a duty of care not only to the direct client but to also to the third parties who reasonably rely on their values. So another thing which we have been discussing is insurance coverage will not mandatory has become essential for protecting against potential claims. Many values now carry professional indemnity insurance with coverage ranging from 10 to 15 crore, but only those who can afford such an amount. Again, the same thing, you should comprehensively maintain the documentation of all the records, all the things you have done in your valuation report. You should carry out proper methodology selections and give the justification within the valuation report why the particular methodology has been done, and you should maintain independence, means there should not be conflict of interest, and you should not do the valuation according to the requirement of the client. So the same things that before accepting any assignment, you should evaluate your competence, competency, independence before accepting any compliance. And during assignment, you should continuously quality checks throughout the evaluation process. Before submitting, you should comprehensively do internal review of the report before submitting. Then, if you think it so, you can have a third party peer review of the report before submission. If you think so. And after you have submitted the report, review outcomes and incorporate lessons learned into future practices. Documentations, you should know that you have to maintain the record of all the documentations you have used in your valuation report. And of course, you can have electronic documentation systems with version control and audit trails provides additional protections by demonstrating their chronological development of the valuation, preventing unauthorized modifications. So regular backup procedures ensure document preservation and availability for future reference or regulatory review. Then market research and data validation. So you should gather the data from multiple reliable sources, including databases, market reports, industrial publications, government records. And once you have collected the data, you should validate the data accuracy and relevance through cross-referencing and expert consultation. Then you should carry out the market analysis, market trends, comparable, and check the economic factors affecting the valuation parameters. Then accordingly do the adjustment in the data for differences in size, location, condition, market timing, etc. And of course, you should have continuous professional development. You know, you should have continuous technical updates. You should have continuous updates regarding regulatory changes, regarding ethics and professional conduct, regarding industry specialization, and research and development at your level. So in today's scenario, it is better if you adopt technology but with proper safety in your valuation practices. Many software tools they are providing advanced analytical capabilities, automated calculations, and standardized reporting formats that reduces errors and improve consistency. But it is not that you can use them as it is. It is your duty to check whatever has been provided by the software, whether it conforms to the relevant data, market conditions, and other things. However, technology also introduces new risks regarding data security, vulnerability, software reliability issues. So these things you should take care of. And over reliance on automated systems may land you in some trouble someday. So the value must maintain technical competence and implement appropriate controls to manage these risks effectively. So for professional risk management strategies, you should have professional insurance. And if you think for a particular assignment, you can have peer consultation with some senior value with experienced peers for complex assignments, methodology decisions, and quality assurance beyond formal peer requirements. Of course, continuous learning and quality systems is important. And another thing is client communication protocols. So you should have effective client communication that will prevent misunderstanding and manage expectations while maintaining professional independence. We already discussed that in the initial engagement letter should clearly define scope, methodology, assumptions, and limitations to prevent scope creep and subsequent dispute. And during your valuation process, regular progress updates keep clients informed while documenting the valuation development process. All significant decisions, assumptions, changes, methodology modifications should be communicated in writing with clear explanation of the rationale and impact valuation conclude. And final report presentation should emphasize key assumptions, limitations, and sensitivity analysis to ensure proper understanding and appropriate use of valuation results. And post-delivery support should be limited to clarifications rather than modifications to maintain report integrity. So then regulatory reporting obligations, you have to submit a detailed continuing education compliance report by 15th of each quarter and a month. You have to submit comprehensive annual report detailing practice statistics, peer reviews conducted, and quality metrics. You have to submit detailed immediate notification of any litigation or adverse development affecting your professional standing to the your respective RVO, and annual registration renewal with updated information and compliant confirmation has to be done by you regularly. So asset class specific considerations, For land and buildings, you have to carry out physical inspections of the site. You have to carry out title verification, development potential assessment, environmental impact evaluation. Market analysis must consider location factor, infrastructure development, and regulatory constraints affecting value. For plant and machinery, technical expertise requirement, condition assessment of soil inspectors, remaining useful life determination, market search should include manufacturer consultations and equipment dealer inputs for accurate valuations. And securities and financial assets value should have carry out market volatility considerations, liquidity discounts, quality control premiums, and regulatory compliance requirements. Peer review emphasizes on methodology, appropriateness, and market data currency for dynamic asset values. And of course, IBBI has mandated that you should carry out your valuation as per international valuation standards. So you must be conversant with IBS, International Valuation Standards of your specific category, specific asset class. And regular updates to the IBBI standards reflect changes in international practices while maintaining consistency with Indian legal regulatory framework. Valuers must stay current with both international developments and local developments to maintain professional competence. Common valuation methodologies, income approach, market approach, cost approach, and there may be hybrid methods in which combination of approaches for complex assets requiring multiple valuation perspectives. And you must be conversant with the details of these valuation approaches and the various methods within these approaches. So you should have a mandatory methodology compliance, documentation quality, market analysis, assumptions responsibilities, reasonableness, and required report clarity. So this we have already discussed technology incorporation in your evaluations. As far as the disciplinary process, you should understand that if there is any problem, then what will happen? IBBI will receive complaints from the various sources, including
And this is very important
clients,
slide.
resolution,
What may be the reasons of disciplinary reading initiatives? This is very important slide. You must concentrate it. What may be the reasons of disciplinary proceedings, action or notices received by you, and what may be the reasons behind it? You must know the reasons. Yes, sir. Okay, please continue, sir.
IBBA receives complaints from various sources, including clients, resolution professional, creditors, or its own monitoring activities. Then they do preliminary assessment to check whether a case for further investigation is there or not. So initial review determines complaint validity and potential violations severity requiring formal investigation. And if they think it fit, they carry out a comprehensive examination of facts, evidence collections, and response opportunity for the accused valuer. Then a committee is formed which is called disciplinary committee. They review the independent committee. They evaluate the findings and recommendation of appropriate sanctions if violations are confirmed. And final decision and appeal, board decision and on sanctions with appeal rights and implementation procedures for disciplinary measures. So you should build a compliant practice as a value that you should establish a compliance focused practice which requires systematic implementation of quality control, professional development program, and risk management procedure. Three things you should maintain. First thing is quality control within your system. Second thing is professional development program. And third thing, you should have risk management procedures within your system. So this foundation begins with comprehensive policies and procedures covering all aspects of valuation practice from clients acceptance to report delivery. So staff training programs ensure consistent application of standards and procedures across the organization. Regular internal audits and identify potential weakness and improve opportunities before they result in regulatory violations or professional liability exposures. So this is all regarding peer review. If you have any doubt, you can discuss it.
So, friend, this is all from our side. Fortunately, the session was completed in the prescribed time limit. If you are having any doubt or you want to discuss anything, the meeting is open for that.